What's up, people? Nature Girl 30 here, and this is another mini Q&A. Now, before I get started on this Q&A, I just want to say this. I am always honored with you guys sending me questions. But I'm even more honored now to know that Steve McGranahan, the world's strongest redneck, actually did subscribe to my channel. Now, I know you guys are like, who is this dude? For those that don't know about Steve McGranahan, he was actually on Country Fried Home Videos on CMT way back when. And he actually had his own segment called The World's Strongest Redneck. And he actually had videos that he posted on that show pretty much on a weekly basis, and it was awesome. That's the first time I've heard of Steve McGranahan when I saw Country Fried Home Videos, as well as World's Dumbest. He had a few videos on that too, but that's the first time I ever saw this guy. So for those that don't know who he is, by all means check out his YouTube channel as well as his website, SteveMcGranahan.com. So this is my shout out to you for subscribing to me, even though you don't necessarily need my shout out. I am definitely very, very honored that you are actually subscribed to me. So thank you so much. But let's get started with this Q&A. I actually have a lot of questions, some from Twitter, one from Facebook, and the rest from YouTube. So let's get started with the Twitter questions. The first question that I have is from Real Harold. What did Nature Girl 30 do on Nature Girl 30's 35th birthday? Like I said in my in my WrestleMania 31 review, I actually was in San Francisco, and it was, and my official birthday was the Raw after. So time wise was different there. It's about 2 hours behind where I am on the East Coast. So I actually did have a good time. I actually drove up to Yosemite, drove through traffic, saw the windmills on top of the hill, beautiful. Drove up mountains to get there. It was a very beautiful place. I took a lot of scenic pictures. For those who are my friends on Facebook, you probably have already seen them and know that those are the pictures that I took on Vista Point, and it was absolutely beautiful. Like, I really did enjoy myself, and that was one of the best 35th birthdays I could ever have, and it's a blessing from the Lord that I had enough money to go. So either or, I had the best birthday ever. So thank you for that question. And your final question for me is, what does Nature Girl 30 think of AJ Lee's departure? AJ Lee, I'm actually going to make my own video about that. I'm actually going to make my own personal discussion video, not the personal, but I'm going to actually make a discussion video about this, because this is huge. AJ Lee happens to be a very popular diva. So who's going to take her place? What's going to happen with the Divas division? Everybody's thoughts, of who's gonna fill those giant shoes, or those Chuck Taylors that she had. But honestly, I'm going to make a discussion video on that. So I want to hear everybody's thoughts on that when it comes out. So yeah, there you go. But let's talk about my Facebook question. Comes from Rico Hill. Now, Rico's my homie. That's my homeboy right there. He is actually the guy that I talked to during Raw, as well as Freddie. Right after, like, the Raw after WrestleMania 31, I actually did talk to him and Freddie. So he's a cool dude, and he's always going to be cool. But here is this question for me. Do you find it odd that Kane is still in the WWE when he originally was supposed to take out Undertaker when he debuted? Yeah. But honestly, I actually prefer Kane to be the one to take out Taker straight, period. Not that I have any beef about Brock Lesnar being the one to take him out. But I really think it made more sense for Kane to take out The Undertaker, because he's supposed to be his brother. So honestly, I would rather have Kane do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Glenn Jacobs, who happens to be Kane, probably didn't want to deal with the scrutiny of having to take him out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he backed out on his own. But despite all that, yeah, I find it weird that he's still there. I kind of do. I thought he would retire by now. But either or, yeah, it is weird. It's very odd. Who is the creepiest bizarre superstar you have ever seen? By far, the Boogeyman. Anybody that literally eats worms to entertain the masses is somebody that is extremely creepy to me. And the Boogeyman was definitely sheer 100% nightmare fuel. Like, having him come out with the the whole voodoo trinkets all over him and shaking and gyrating and then having worms in his mouth is just, and the horns, it was just flat out creepy. He sucked as a wrestler, but he was creepy by far. Boogeyman. I don't think anybody could top that nonsense. But anyway, let's move on to my YouTube questions. Nintendo fanboy, you actually sent me 5 questions, but I missed one, and I think I did miss it. But my your thoughts, your question is thoughts on Big Show and Kane. Those two individuals really need to retire. It's to the point where Kane's character is completely neutered. He cannot go back to being the Big Red Machine. He cannot go back to being the Devil's Favorite Demon. He's flat out Glenn Jacobs. That's who he is right now. He's Corporate Kane really did put the nail in the coffin of his career. Seriously. And he's not really a bad dude. It's just he can't go back to who he was. He just can't. It's impossible for people to go behind him now for the fact that he decided to go corporate. And I don't think anybody likes anybody to go corporate these days. But moving on to Big Show. Big Show's a Grand Slammer. He has nothing to prove. Why is he still there? I don't know. But it seems to me that Big Show is just done. He keeps flip-flopping between face and heel on a weekly basis, actually. And it's just getting flat out sad. It's like they're really trying to find him something to do and trying to get people behind him or people to boo him or have some kind of reaction, but nothing happens. So those are the two individuals that I'm hoping will be in the Hall of Fame next year. But we'll see. We'll see. Moving on from there to Final Limits. Now, Final Limits has pretty much asked me a majority of the questions about AJ Lee's retirement. So like I said, I'm going to actually just do a discussion video on that to put it all out there. But there are 2 questions that kind of do, and I kind of can answer, that's not particularly the same as what Real Harold asked. So, your question for me is, will she end up on TNA like your boy Ric Flair after he retired? You know what, I can probably put that on my discussion video as well, but I'll go ahead and put that out there. No, I don't think she is. I think she's done. Are the Bella Twins going to retire now? Now, I don't really agree on the term of you calling them a hoe, but either or, I will say that no, they're not going to retire. But Brie, we all know that Brie wants to have a baby. So there's a chance that Brie just might back out of her contract, and it might just be Nikki. And I think Nikki can pretty much sell herself without her sister. That's just me. I think she'll be fine. And plus, she'll develop herself as an individual because Brie did when Nikki was injured, so Nikki can when Brie's gone. And plus, Nikki has a lot more strength than Brie does. But either or, I think they'll be fine. But I really think that Brie is probably thinking about backing out. I don't know when, but it might be soon. The next set of questions comes from Justin Tsai. How old did you turn? I turned 35 on March 30th of this year. And what's your favorite Nintendo characters of all times? The only Nintendo character that I know of is Mario, and I have a lot of memories playing Mario, and it was absolutely fun. I think the first time that I played Mario on the NES was great. I had a lot of great memories playing it, and you literally was on the Nintendo for hours and hours and hours on end, because you really technically never beat the game. Even though you thought you beat the game, you never really could beat the game. There were so many hidden secrets and hidden gems in that game that you really officially was never done with it. So yeah, Mario, by far. One of the best characters of all time, in my humble opinion. Moving on from there to Little Fish. When are you getting Mortal Kombat? Honestly, I don't know. Right now, I am honestly on the fence. Not so much because of the content. And yes, the whole thing is very visceral. What I mean by that is, if you actually have done a dissection of an animal or an organ in high school, like of a real organ, without it being soaked in formaldehyde, then you will know what I'm talking about when I mean visceral. But either or, I will say this. I have an Xbox 360. It's supposed to be it's actually made for next gen consoles. So it's made for a PS4 and an Xbox One. So I don't know how it's gonna look. So before I actually go and buy and pay $60 for a game that's gonna look crappy on my system, I'm actually gonna probably wait for the next review to come out so that somebody can actually do a playthrough on the Xbox 360, so I will know exactly what it would look like before I actually go and buy it and it looks like garbage. But more than likely, I'm probably gonna buy it off Xbox Live, because I know if you get a 360, you can actually get something that's compatible to it, or they actually have something, some kind of add-in that you could actually play it on, or something like that. I don't know, but either or, I'm probably gonna get it off Xbox Live, and probably make more sense if I do it that way. If I get it. I don't know. I don't know when. Are there many, okay, sorry. Bit tired. Are there any people that you used to send, who used to send you questions but don't send you anymore, that you miss? If so, say your names. Say their names. Honestly, everybody who has sent me questions is currently still sending me questions now. So I will say that occasionally I do get something from Napoleon Guru. I get something from Rio Harold. File Limits has been like there since the very beginning of my Q&As, and he still sends me questions. I haven't had anybody that hasn't sent me any questions before, except on a rare occasion. At one time, I actually did get questions sent to me from NJ or from Mr. Parkin. But Mr. Parkin was a one-time thing. That's never going to happen again. But I know that occasionally I actually did get questions sent from NJ. I think I had one question from Vente Kid, but NJ was usually the most, like probably every few months. But I don't really get much from him anymore. It would be nice to actually get a question sent from him. But either or, if it doesn't happen, I know he's busy. So, you know, but that's how it was. Thoughts on Kenan and Kel? Kenan and Kel was really funny back in the day, but even during that time, I could tell that that Kel was more popular than Kenan, and Kel was funnier than Kenan, and he's still to this day funnier than Kenan. And the orange soda, everybody knows the orange soda, orange soda song. Everybody remembers that. By far, it was hilarious. I would sing it, but I'm really bad at it. So yeah, I definitely do remember Kenan and Kel from when they were actually on Nickelodeon back in the day, and they were pretty funny. I actually did watch a lot of episodes at that time. But my next set of questions actually comes from Peyto Neilton. If every match of WrestleMania 31 what if every match in WrestleMania 31 ended under 3 minutes? It would be flat out boring, and a lot of people will be pissed off, because here's the one thing you got to understand. It's not so much the people of the States that are watching WrestleMania 31. You have people all over the world from 30 different countries that is literally coming to the States to see this live. And it's also, this is being broadcast worldwide. So you got to have a show with a long enough time for people to actually enjoy it. So if it was under 30 minutes, there'll be a lot of angry people and people demanding refunds. So I'm kind of happy that they do go beyond the 3-minute mark. What if the show closed off with Roman Reigns and Lesnar doing a tug of war? Boring. Angry people. That's all I have to say about that. Was Reigns set to fall from the start of his push? No, not from the start. I think that the entire intention was Roman Reigns to actually get pushed to where he would eventually win the title. But the backlash was so bad that they literally had to change their minds. And honestly, it's not his fault. It's kind of messed up that it happened that way, because Roman Reigns shouldn't have been set up to fail. And after the monstrosity, which was the Royal Rumble, and how bad the Royal Rumble match was, it set him up to fail. So after that horrible mistake, they had to backtrack and try to earn back the respect of the fans, because let's be real, the fans is what pay them. So they got to make the fans happy somewhat, so they're going to back off from him for a while. They're still going to push him, but not as hard as they did. But yeah, it really, I don't think it was set to fail, but I think that it was just what happened to Rumble set him up to fail. But he's going to eventually be a champion, but not right now. What matches would you like to see at next year's Mania? Oh, it is so hard to say right now. It really is. It's so far off that I really don't have any matches in mind at this point. I would love to actually see Bryan versus Taker, but I doubt that I will see it. Now that the streak is officially over, Undertaker can do whatever he wants. So honestly, it may be a whole different other WrestleMania. That is if Taker even participates, because Taker, I wouldn't be surprised, going to be in next year's Hall of Fame. So we'll see where it goes from there. But honestly, I would love to see Bryan versus Taker and see whether or not Bryan can actually take out Taker. But we'll see. It's so far off right now. Thoughts on Maria Menounos? Do you know my thoughts on her? So I'm not even going to go there. It will be a 30-minute long tape. So, but you already know my personal thoughts. For those that know me, they know I'm not a fan of hers. So, yeah, I'm not going to make it into a rant, but that's pretty much it. My final set of questions comes from Regional D Huff. What if you were a wrestler and what happened to Ray's opponent happened to yours? Well, that would suck. I mean, the thing is that it would be devastating for anybody to be in the ring with anyone. Wrestling these days, a wrestling period, especially Lucha Libre, is a very dangerous sport to be in. And even though people are like, it's not a sport, it's a sport. If it's a sport where you bleed and get hurt, it's a sport. If it's something where you physically get hurt or bleed or lose an arm or whatever, you know, like have your arm broken, then it's a sport. And Lucha Libre is a very aggressive, very extreme sport. And it's very dangerous. Everybody knows that going in. And if my opponent actually, if my opponent did die while I was in the ring wrestling with them, that would be devastating for anyone. And I know it's probably devastating for Ray, especially the fact that he's reminded of it daily and had people threatening him about this incident, why it was not his fault. And that has to hurt. Especially if he was close to him. That has to hurt even more. Thoughts on Shia LaBeouf? I love Shia LaBeouf and Even Stevens, but not anymore. That is somebody that I kind of wish would pass on and maybe do something else, like the indie circuit. I don't know. He's kind of ruined Transformers a bit for me. I'm not going to say it's all his fault, but I will say that you just get kind of tired of him screaming, Optimus! Every 5 seconds. That's just me personally. But guys, thank you so much for sending me questions. You guys are awesome. And once again, thank you, Steve McGranahan, for subscribing to my channel. You are awesome as well. And I will definitely give you huge shout outs by actually putting your website information and everything on the bottom of the description below. And guys, this is it. This is another mini Q&A done, in the books, finished. This is Nitchko 30 signing off. Peace out, guys. Later.
You don't wanna lose her.